FM, 1280 WJAY, early Saturday morning. Gospel start time, gospel mix production. Our time stands as 8:30. We're going to switch over to Studio B and say good morning to Brother Michael Jenkins.
And good morning to you, Tater, and good morning to everyone out there. PD Sportswrap is on the air. I'm very excited today for many reasons, but for the one specific reason of Lakeview High School and their baseball team. And the fact that they're playing a game today that's monumental. And I believe that the venue is really a very big part of it. This game between Lakeview and MacB will be played today at Francis Marion University's wonderful, beautiful baseball stadium that they built several years ago. And Lakeview got there. When I look at the road that was taken by the Lakeview Wildgators to get here, and just keep this in mind for a second. The two participants in this Class Single A State Championship Showdown today, the two participants, lo and behold, both came out of the losers bracket, meaning they had lost previous games in this tournament, but still brought themselves back up by virtue of a double elimination tournament. Now, Lakeview and Latter were in the same group, and they played each other. Actually, they played each other 3 times in this run, because they played in like the second round, and Latter won. Latter moved on. Should I say the second round of the lower state? But Latter moves on, and Lakeview falls to the losers bracket, where they had to play Johnsonville. So they beat Johnsonville. And then they had to play Latter again. So they had to beat Latter twice to get to this state championship game. And they did. Beat them 2 times in a row. So congratulations to Latter. Congratulations to Lakeview. Mostly Lakeview, because they're here right now playing for what someone told me would be their 9th state championship in Class A baseball. Coach Herlong has been there all these years. And he's from Marion, as I said. But he went to Lakeview, took over down there over 30 years ago. And it hasn't been the same in the swamp since. Now, MacB, for their part, they got beat by Ware Shawls. And then they had to play Abbeville. And Abbeville is also a perennial baseball power in the state of South Carolina. So MacB goes down there and they beat Abbeville to move on to a rematch with Ware Shawls, who had just beaten them. They took care of business there, and now here they are on the last Saturday of the high school baseball season, quite possibly, unless there's some rainouts and such. Lakeview and MacB will tangle today. So, I want to take a quick look at the other. Oh no, I must mention, hold on a second here. I must mention this. And this has to do with the Marion. No, that's next. Let's take a look at the who else is left. I think some of these games were played on yesterday, but I don't have scores, so I'll just tell you who is doing what. And then I got a little interesting little tidbit for you about double elimination baseball games and why they are said to be popular. I I guess it's okay. I mean, the reasoning doesn't work though. In fact, let me get to that right now. Let me go to the reasoning, because the reasonings and the rationale that they give for having a double elimination in baseball, you can use the same rationale to justify double elimination in basketball. Now here's what it says. It says high schools often use double elimination for state baseball tournaments to allow more teams to compete and give teams a chance to rebound after a loss. What basketball team wouldn't want to get a second chance after a loss? Instead, what they get is a trip home. It goes on to say, this format also provides more competitive games and allows for the determination of third and fourth place teams without separate classification match. Here's more details. It says increased competition is another reason they give. Double elimination allows teams to play more games, providing a greater opportunity for competition and excitement. So this wouldn't apply to basketball then. It goes on to say, chance for redemption. It says, unlike single elimination where one loss eliminates a team, a double elimination allows teams to work their way back into competition or into contention through a loser's bracket, giving them another shot at the championship. Now, I don't have a problem with baseball doing this, but the basketball crowd can step up and say, hey, we need to do this in basketball too. Some of our teams need a second chance. Some of our teams didn't have a good game their first time out, and they'll have that second chance. It says more competitive games. Teams are incentivized to play their best throughout the entire tournament as they have a chance to come back from a loss. Does that make any sense? I guess, I don't know. Determining third and fourth place, and this makes sense. Double elimination naturally determines the third and fourth place teams without requiring a separate consolation game. Well, basketball doesn't get a consolation game either. This is funny. Reduce risk of early exit. It says even if a team loses in the first round, they still have a chance to advance, reducing the risk of strong teams being eliminated prematurely. Well, you figure if they got eliminated, they might have need to be eliminated. No, that's where it is in basketball. Oh, boy. Now, it goes on to say, the double elimination format has some advantages over the single elimination format, more notably the fact that the third and fourth places can be determined without the use of a consolation or classification. Well, you know what? There's no consolation in basketball, so you know what I'm saying? Whatever. So those are the reasons why they give for baseball having a double elimination setup. And I read where it says across the country, some states are now having single elimination baseball tournaments. So that's something to think about as well. But I know that the biggest problem I have with the double elimination tournament is just being able to look at these brackets and make sense of them, because it's a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, if you tried to print this thing out, you'd get a big mess. Even trying to follow it on the computer is kind of hard to do. But at any rate, that's the story with that. let's take a look real quick at who else is out here locally or whatever, or not locally even. All right. Upper state. Okay, so the state championship is in five A Division One is a battle between Lexington and James Island, and looks like they already played a game, and they each won, so they are going for a final. Now that could have been yesterday, because as I said, everything is not clearly delineated from my perspective on the in the brackets. Like I said, it's a jigsaw puzzle. But James Island and Lexington will battle for the 5A Division One baseball championship. Looking at who else is out there, let's go to Division Two. And the Division Two folks shape up. I think West Lawrence was still in this thing. I think they lost to James Island. But, yeah. So now we're looking at the Division Two. And in the Division Two, see, I'm buying time as I try to scroll down. Well, it's Catawba Ridge versus Berkeley. Now, if you remember Berkeley, good morning, my dear sister-in-law, Marcina, how are you? Berkeley played for a state championship in basketball this year, too. So, our friends down in Berkeley County are getting some things done in a big way. You show up for a state championship in basketball. I think their girls were in the state championship, too, or at least the lower state. So, congratulations to Berkeley. That's a county I'm not unfamiliar with, since I lived in a neighboring county as a boy. Class 4A state championship. And they do it even different than the others do it, and it's still a mess. I wish I could show you this, but State championship is between Seneca and Airport. So that started on the 27th. Good morning, Rudolph Finkley. Good morning. How are you today, sir? Let's see who is in the 3As. 3A state championship. Baseball. Yep, this is the last roundup for high school sports. Next stop will be football. And that's coming up. I'll be here before you know it. Believe me. But in the meantime, I'm sure that the basketball crowd is out there doing some things right now. I saw where Marion, in fact, I got an email where Marion is getting their summer program started. A lot of activity going on there. I hadn't seen anything from Mullins. Sean, I hadn't seen you. What are you guys doing? I know you're going to camp or something like that, or how about shoot me a schedule of activities that you guys are going to be participating in this summer? Because this is always a time of year that it's an off season. But Mark Jarrell, who was the Mullins basketball coach and legend, always made the summer interesting. It was always just enough to get me through to football, and just enough basketball to whet the appetite of the local fans to get them excited about the upcoming basketball season. So that's been a trend, because there was a time when basketball didn't have the kind of power to do these kind of things in the summer. I guess there was a lobby of sorts where they got some power, because football used to run things. I mean, all other sports activities were basically dictated on by football people. But that has changed. There is some strength now. The basketball crowd is powerful. Obviously, because they get all this time in the summer, then they get some time in the fall to play basketball and to train for their season. Now, I want to talk about how things were in Marion County this year. With Marion and Mullins, with their football program, how their basketball programs do. And we started out with Marion. And their football program was not very good this year, to say the least. They came in at 1-9, 0-6 in the region. And just in case you've forgotten, we can take a quick look at the schedule here, and we know that Marion had, one of their worst football seasons in a long time. This is their current schedule. Let's see. What do we have here? Well, it looks like this is their schedule for the upcoming season, and they start out playing at home on the 21st. Against Lakeview. It's a non-region, of course. And then it says here, now, I take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to Max Prep. But it says here that after the Lakeview game, they will travel to Latta. After that, looks like they will host West Florence on the 5th. Looks like they will host Dillon. Why are y'all playing Dillon? Really? Anyway, Dillon on the 12th, and then Kingstree, and then they're at Mullins, at Atlantic Collegiate Academy on the 17th of October. On the 24th, they are at Manning, and they finish the season at East Clarendon. So we're talking, So, but last year was not a good year. Swamp Foxes took it on the chin. I'm sure for their fans, it was very painful to watch. Hopefully this year will be better. It needs to be. Folks around here, especially in Marion, they've taken football real serious, and I mean, they know that they're going to have some bad seasons, but they don't. I'm sure the last thing they want is to repeat what they just went through. That would not be good. Let's look at last year's schedule and how they fared. Well, they got beat by Lakeview the first game, 42-0. So you knew this wasn't going to be a good year. From that moment right there, and I went to that game. I'm pretty sure I went to that game. You knew it wasn't going to be good. I think I left early. On the 30th, when they played against Latta, this was a game they could have won, but they got nipped. They won that 8-7 against Latta. West Florence, that was a bad choice, 47-0. Dillon, also tough scheduled game, 48-7. These people here you gotta play. You gotta play Kingstree. You gotta play Mullins. You gotta play all these teams in your conference. Kingstree beat them 52-16. Mullins 20-6 over them. Atlantic Collegiate Academy 27-0. Lake City beat them 41-0. Manning beat them 38-13. East Clarendon beat them 42-22. So that's the way it went for Marion. There's really nothing else to say. Now Mullins, for their part, had a pretty good season. They kind of faltered a little bit at the end, but they started out really strong, and they got them a nice cushion, you might say. They finished last year 7-4, and 3-3 in the conference, which placed them 5th. Their schedule starts on the 22nd this year of August, and they will play against Hemingway. I think it's pretty much the same schedule as last year. They then go. Hold on a second here. Yep, football season's almost here, folks. Are y'all ready for it? I want the football to be good so that I can actually go to some games this year. I mean, more games. Okay. Or after Hemingway, they are at Lakeview. And then they host Green Sea Floyd. They host Ladder. They travel to Atlantic Collegiate Academy. They host Marion on the 26th of September. And then they play Lake City on the road. They play Manning at home. They play East Clarendon on the road. And they finish the season against Kingstree. So Mullins football last year really made major strides. Their coach Lowry, really kind of put Mullins on the road to being a respectable football program again. They had fallen off greatly over the last few years or so. But I visited with him last year, and I think this is his 3rd year, I want to say. And I came away feeling very optimistic about the Mullins football program. So, Coach Lowry is doing a good job. I see him where he had some kids visited a camp or something up in Virginia last week. So yeah, the Mullins program, right? I don't know about the Marion's program. I don't know what's going on with that. You know, after a season like last year, I'm sure there's going to be some changes. Changes in who's going to be running things, but it was just not a good look for them last year at all. Now, basketball wise, Mullins was better there too, clearly better. Marion finished the season at 12-15. They made a little noise. During the early part of the playoff. You know, it seemed like they were kind of flexing a little bit, but in the end they lost, and they finished the season at 12-15, 6-6. They just couldn't quite get it together. Now I think that their problem was in the backcourt. I think their guards kind of let them down. You didn't see a lot of cohesion there, and usually that occurs when a team doesn't have a good, solid point guard to lead them. They have some potential people to do that this year, but I got to wait and see first. Because what I saw last year left some things to be desired. Let's just put it that way. But Mullins had it together all season long. They had multiple multi-game win streaks. They were exciting. Kids played last year. Now, of course, they ran up against, an immovable force when it comes down to charter schools and other roadblocks that are thrown in front of them. And this Atlantic Collegiate Academy was really a wrench thrown in because Mullins had been battling schools like this, and Marion too, for the last several years. You got Great Collegiate out there who was a major roadblock, and no one could seem to get through that roadblock. And that was one thing because you were meeting them in the tournament. Okay. But now Atlantic Collegiate gets dropped in the same conference with you. Now you got to play these cats twice a year. And as it turns out in Mullins' case, you got to play them in the playoff too. So it's a new dynamic. But Mullins gave an outstanding account of themselves last year every time I've seen them. They were exciting to play, exciting to watch play. They got some really exciting players, and a lot of them are going to be back this year. You know, starting with Deion Ford, starting with Deion Ford's little cousin, KJ. You got Dakari Worley. They're gonna Mullins is gonna be a problem this year too. I think Marion is gonna be kind of like rebuilding right now. But Mullins finished last year 19-6. They finished 8-4, which got them third place in the region. And really, that's what put them on the road. That third place finish. They kind of stumbled a little bit down the stretch. But I don't see, even though they lost some key guys, maybe some guys that everyone didn't expect to step up like they did, but there were several guys who did. I'm not going to try to call their names right now. Good morning, Ronald Jones, my cousin. Yo, you moved yet, man? You in Texas yet? Coming down there, bro. Meet you down there. What's that place? That island right off the coast of Houston there. We'll talk more about that. I always want to go. Corpus Christi. That's the place I want to talk about. But yeah, so Mullins is primed to do things this year. They're gonna make another run. I mean, with the team that they have coming back, yeah, they lost some things, but they're gonna be fine. And I look forward to watching them do their thing again. Now, as far as girls basketball goes, Marion girls were better. They finished at 17-9, second in the region. It was a 9-3 mark, and their season ended. Season didn't end too well. They went on the road and they beat Woodland. Or was that on the road? Maybe it wasn't on the road. 47-38, Marion girls won. And then they got beat by Andrew Jackson, who I'm pretty sure Andrew Jackson won state. They were blitzing everybody. This was not a good year to play them. Mullins girls, they had a pretty decent season. It's a major quantum leap from 2 years ago. Their overall mark was 7-9. Of course, they had to go on the road as well the first game. Oh, you're gone? Okay, cool. So you are out in Texas now. But Mullins girls have made tremendous strides this year, and I think they're going to make more this coming season because those girls are finally growing up. They got a lot of youngsters on that team, and they've had youngsters on this team for the last 3 years. 7th graders, 8th graders, I mean, you name it. You know, the whole thing with them in the feeder program kind of drying up really hurt Mullins and set them back maybe years. Okay. The NBA Conference Finals are going on right now, and the West has been decided. Oklahoma City is the team now that everyone is thinking is going to be the team to beat. They come out of the West. The Knicks and the Indiana Pacers haven't settled things yet. I'm pretty sure the game is today. Back in Indiana, where the Pacers will look to put the Knicks to rest. And this is going to be a 6th game. I didn't even watch the game the other night. It looked like a blowout from the start, and turns out it was. I didn't like the fact that it looked like the Pacers kind of just mailed that one in. Now, you took a chance. You lost that game, and now you're trying to put it in the hands of the basketball gods by you going back to Indiana. You think that's going to be automatic. It ain't automatic. You still got to play. You still got to put these guys to bed. And if you do anything, Pacers, please don't do this. Don't let it get back to New York for a 7th game. If it does, you're going to lose. I'm telling you right now. So make sure you end this thing in Indiana and you move on to the conference final. And I believe Indiana can beat OKC. I like Indiana a lot. I think they have everything they need. On the other hand, I'm not a big fan of OKC. I like them, but I don't love them. Who knows? By the time this thing is over, maybe I will love them. Anyway, Taylor says that's all the time I have left. Thanks for you guys joining me this morning. I really enjoyed doing this and having you here. All the listeners out there. I'll be back next week with more. But I'm going to a baseball game tonight, folks. I'll see you guys over in Florence for the Lakeview Wildcatters MAC B